Before I start showing some of the things I've been working on, I do want to say something first. It's about my ability to learn and memorize. I have to admit they are not peak performance. So why am I saying this? I'm saying this because this could be interesting to watch from another perspective, perhaps. To see someone do tasks like I'm about to show you, little to no experience. So this isn't only a devlog, I would say this is more than that. I did not do any art or coding in school. I ended up doing woodworking because I did some with my grandfather, which made me a bit more comfortable doing, and did that up to 2019. So if you ask me how to set up an if statement or how to set up a case structure, I am pretty sure I would fail horribly. However, not long ago, I was introduced with GPT, other words ChatGPT, which made things a tad easier to understand and put me into gear. Before GPT, I was following tutorials that I still recommend doing if you want to do something similar. I think I will show you a little bit of that after I showed some of the guns. And the tutorial was from Sean Spalding. Alright, let's go back to my testing room, as I call it, and I will show some of the guns I've been working on. The main focus have been on the casings, like animating as you shoot, mainly. As you can see, the casings are being drawn to the background. I think I might go back to where they despawn over time, so that it looks so cluttered. Just makes the whole area look ugly in the end. Or I can have as an option. I also tried making my projectiles pierce as many enemies I want. For this particular gun, I was thinking maybe just 2 targets. The gun sounds I made myself. I did record some sounds on my hand recorder, some gunshots from YouTube, random people shooting, and just combined and mashed together. At the end of the day, they will be altered and changed till I'm satisfied, but this is only to set it up fast and test as I go. Here I have a shotgun where the pellets are reducing damage the further you go away, and the projectile particles you can see behind the pellets are made by no tutorials but GPT. And some of them are doing AoE damage, as you can see. And also fiddling with the concept of having debuffs on enemies. It's just a concept of like having effects on the enemy. And here is my primary focus on what I've been doing, is to make sure that the casings are animating as I shoot. And this gun was perfect to do that with, as it's transparent. There's bound to be some minor bugs, of course. I have this one particular bug where whenever I swap weapons, they always become big for one frame and then small again, and that has been bothering me for so long. But I'm going to change the system where I swap weapons, so I'm not too worried about it for now. For this particular gun, I made it so the crit chance is high, and it can pierce 3 targets, and every time you do not crit, you are getting a buff, which increases the crit damage by 100% for each target you do not crit. That's why the crit chance is already so high. balancing the guns are coming in the end, of course. Here is a revolver where the casings are being reloaded a little bit differently. Since it's a drum, every time you reload, you're dumping out the casings instead of just casing popping out all the time. And this gun is a little bit unique compared to the others. You will see that once it's happening. The proc chance is purposely higher for testing purposes only. For the meteor impact, I have an idea to maybe replace this one. I want to try to have a camera on an isometric angle where the background is black and have a bright light on the water, at least when it's splashing, and try to make that into an impact animation. This particular map is out of boundary, that's why you see these casing are disappearing and the flash is cutting off. I haven't fixed that because I don't need to. I'm going to do that in my next project instead. I'll change the armor value of this one entity here, and also I'll show you that one gun that pierces 2 enemies can also slow enemies. Keep in mind, it's just me trying different things. The entire code of this whole project is basically SpaghettiOs. I made so the cannon is ignoring armor in this particular gun, and fire damage also ignores armor, of course. When I set the armor value to 9,900 and something, I think that's equal to armor or damage reduction by 99%, at least for kinetic damage. So this is what I've been working on and off here and then. I'm going to unfortunately scrap the majority of this and focus on the character, how it holds the weapons, and have a different structures to my guns using structs. And here's the tutorial I was following with Sean Spalding. I did follow his tutorial as it's shown here. The only thing I changed was the character, I think, and some minor items. But that's not what I'm about to show you. I'm going to show you what I did with his tutorial. The walking animation is a little bit wonky, as I was following a tutorial and I couldn't spend too much time perfecting it. Pretty much everything else in this one, it's just me following a tutorial in the end of the day. By changing some values of the throwing animation, I noticed I could throw something very far, and then I was like, why don't I make paper airplane out of it? And I kept playing around with this so much. This map was made through Midjourney. If I'm going to do this approach, I'm of course going to make it less wonky and AI-y and clean up what looks wrong or displaced. Following tutorial is very powerful. It allows you to understand the software you're using and get some concept of what you're doing, and you can expand upon this by learning. Even if you forget 90% of what you just did, you can always come back and revisit what you just did. I made some triggers with a statue. If you pick it up and move away from that trigger, it starts a timer, and the only way to stop this timer if you place it on the other end in a certain time. The timer will still go even if you drop it. And then I made the end trigger on this little platform under this hutch. The AI is very primitive, so they often get stuck. And here's one example. And from what I learned through the tutorial, I tried something myself, where I put a boombox on the ground, and the sound is moving in the direction you are running. The music gets more distant from where the boombox is. It was a fun tutorial to follow. I do not regret any bit of this. And it gives me some ideas for my actual game, if I get that far, of course. If you're still here, thank you for watching, and this video is a follow-up from my previous video, so please watch that if you haven't.